Welcome to Bullseye Movies channel. Today we see that the idea of a GOAT, the greatest of all time, is seductive in its simplicity. It promises clarity in a messy world, a single name we can point to and say, that's it, that's the standard. In sports, in music, and increasingly in television storytelling, the GOAT label becomes a shorthand for excellence, influence, and cultural impact. Within the expanding universe that stretches from Young Sheldon to Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, the Cooper name has quietly, almost unconsciously, acquired that kind of legendary aura. But here's the question that deserves serious discussion. Is Cooper truly the undisputed GOAT, or has the narrative simply crowned him out of habit, nostalgia, and selective memory? This discussion is not about tearing down a beloved character or legacy. Instead, it's about doing what good criticism should always do. Looking past hype, examining context, and asking whether the metrics we use to declare greatness still hold up when the story evolves. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage gives us the perfect lens to do that, because it reframes the Cooper legacy not as myth, but as lived experience. To understand why the Cooper name carries such weight, we have to start with its origins. In Young Sheldon, George Cooper Sr. was positioned as a deeply flawed but fundamentally decent man. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't extraordinary in the traditional sense. But he was steady, hard-working, and emotionally present in ways that only became fully appreciated after his absence. This posthumous elevation is crucial to the GOAT conversation. Legends often aren't forged purely through achievement, they're forged through loss. George Sr.'s death froze his legacy in amber. His mistakes softened with time, his virtues magnified. In retrospect, he became the emotional backbone of the Cooper family, the yardstick against which everyone else would be measured. When Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage enters the picture, it doesn't just inherit that legacy. It interrogates it. Before declaring Cooper the GOAT, we need to define the criteria. Is greatness measured by emotional impact, moral consistency, sacrifice, long-term influence, narrative centrality, or sheer screen presence? The problem with the GOAT label is that it often collapses all these metrics into a single vague sense of importance. And that's where the discussion becomes slippery. George Cooper Sr. might be the emotional GOAT of Young Sheldon. Sheldon himself might be the intellectual GOAT of the broader Big Bang Theory franchise. Georgie, meanwhile, is emerging as something else entirely. The resilience GOAT, the adaptability GOAT, the survival GOAT. So when fans casually crown Cooper as the undisputed GOAT, which Cooper are they talking about, and by what measure? If Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage does anything exceptionally well, it's reframing greatness as something earned slowly and painfully. Georgie is not extraordinary in the way Sheldon is. He's not idealized in the way his father became after death. His greatness, if we can call it that, is rooted in endurance. Georgie becomes a husband too young, a father before he's ready, and a provider without a safety net. He doesn't win through genius or luck. He wins by staying upright when the weight keeps increasing. This raises an uncomfortable question for the GOAT narrative. Should greatness be about peak performance or sustained survival? If the answer is survival, then Georgie may eventually surpass every Cooper who came before him. But if the answer is cultural impact or mythic status, then Georgie is still playing catch-up to a legend that may never have been entirely real. One of the reasons Cooper's GOAT status goes largely unquestioned is the enduring appeal of the provider myth. George Sr. worked. He showed up. He paid the bills. In many ways, that alone earns him reverence. But Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage complicates that narrative by showing us the cost of stepping into that role too early. Georgie's struggle reveals that being a provider isn't inherently noble, it's often corrosive. It consumes emotional bandwidth, stifles vulnerability, and creates pressure that leaks into every relationship. If Cooper's greatness is defined by provision alone, then we have to ask, at what cost, and to whom? The show subtly suggests that the myth of the perfect provider may itself be flawed, a standard that creates legends while quietly breaking the people who try to live up to it. Another problem with the undisputed GOAT narrative is that it flattens everyone else. It turns a rich ensemble into supporting evidence rather than fully realized contenders. Take Mary Cooper. Her emotional labor, spiritual rigidity, and quiet resilience shaped her children just as much as George Sr.'s presence did. Yet she's rarely included in GOAT conversations because her contributions don't fit traditional greatness metrics. Missy, too, is often overlooked, despite being one of the most emotionally perceptive characters in the entire franchise. Her ability to read people, adapt, and survive emotional neglect might not look like greatness, but it arguably reflects a deeper intelligence than Sheldon's celebrated genius. Even Mandy, in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, challenges the Cooper-centric narrative. She doesn't inherit the Cooper myth, she questions it. And in doing so, she becomes a measuring stick for whether that myth holds up in real relationships. Another reason Cooper's greatness goes largely unchallenged is nostalgia. Young Sheldon trained audiences to see the Cooper family through a lens of inevitability. We already knew how things ended. That foreknowledge softened judgment. But Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage removes that safety net. We don't know how this marriage will survive. We don't know what kind of father Georgie will ultimately be. There's no nostalgic cushion, only uncertainty. And uncertainty is where myths struggle to survive. When you watch Georgie fail in real time, mess up conversations, make bad financial decisions, struggle with pride, it becomes harder to accept inherited greatness as unquestionable truth. Another reason Cooper's greatness goes largely unchallenged is nostalgia. Young Sheldon trained audiences to see the Cooper family through a lens of inevitability. We already knew how things ended. That foreknowledge softened judgment. But Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage removes that safety net. We don't know how this marriage will survive. We don't know what kind of father Georgie will ultimately be. There's no nostalgic cushion, only uncertainty. And uncertainty is where myths struggle to survive. When you watch Georgie fail in real time, mess up conversations, make bad financial decisions, struggle with pride, it becomes harder to accept inherited greatness as unquestionable truth. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and comment on our channel for more reviews only on Bullseye Movies.